This four-part series of classes about October 7th Revisited is sponsored by two exceptional young women, Rina Shalamit Batzar Yocheved and Yehudis Malia Batzar Yocheved. The two of them should find their Zivug Hagen Bakarov, which they really, really deserve. Please daven for them if you would. They asked me, that these two women, a lot of questions about October 7th, and we should all be asking these questions. And one of their questions was, what do I do? How do I reconcile this? How can I deal with this? This is not a face of Hashem that we've seen before. How can I understand what happened on October 7th? And this is a very, very difficult question. I can't claim to be big enough to be able to answer this question, but I think I can offer the following suggestion. I was once at the beach with my son, and I told him, one of the most important things I could teach you is this. What's this? This is letting go. We often hold on to ideologies that we have, which we shouldn't be holding on to them. And we've been taught by the world that we have to understand everything. Our intellect must fathom this. This is a principle that was instituted by Aristotle, Aristotelian thinking, that I think, therefore I am. If I can't comprehend it with my intellect, then I can't accept it. This idea is antithetical to Jewish thought. Jewish thought teaches us that we must let go. We must understand that not everything is capable of being grasped by intellect. And this is in fact the reason that we are given the mitzvah of para aduma. Choik chakadati. There's a choik which we cannot understand. And that is a prototype to teach us about kol Torah kuloi, that there are many things that we can't understand. That Hashem's level of wisdom is much higher than ours. And in fact, Hashem purposely makes the world in such a way that we have to struggle in order to understand His ways. My friend Paul Lasker once told me, he was an Air Force pilot in the Israeli army. He told me the word Yisrael comes from Yaakov Avinu's fight with the Sar of Esav, Sarisi Elokim, Bazartani. I fought with God and I won. Yeah, says Paul explained to me. He said that we all must fight with God, and we don't fight with God in the boxing ring. We fight with God in our minds, with the concept of God, how to deal with God, how to understand the situation. How can we reconcile October 7th with Emunah? This is the fight that we all must go through, and that process is so important. And these two young ladies are to be complimented for the fact that it bothers them. If it doesn't bother you, then it should bother you. These things should bother you. And by having it bother you and working through it, this is how we come closer to Hashem. This is how we build our Emunah. I was once speaking to Rav Noach Weinberg. A relative of mine was passing through Israel. This relative was part of a rock group called Waltzing with the Dogs. And we wanted to give him a little more of a Jewish experience, something more elevated than waltzing with dogs. And I went to speak to Rav Noach Weinberg, and I asked him, how do we do this? How do we get him hooked? Rav Noach Weinberg said he has to be bothered. If he's not bothered, he doesn't have a question, that he won't appreciate, he won't look for an answer. My Rosh Hashiva, Rav Tzvi Kushlevsky, used to say this in Shir. He would say, I'm not going to tell you the answer until the question bothers you. Because if you're not bothered, you won't appreciate the answer. So, we must be bothered. If we're not bothered about October 7th, then there's something wrong with us. But we have to be bothered and we have to reconcile it. That's how we grow. That's how we become children to adults in Emunah. This is how we grow. And it's all about letting go. It's about letting go of our Aristotelian philosophy, that we must perceive it with our intellect in order to understand it. And we have to realize that it doesn't work that way. Hashem wants us not to understand and to turn to Him. As I told these young ladies, when Avraham Avinu was asked to take his only son, that he waited 100 years to be born, and then 37 years of educating him, to pass on his teachings to the whole world. And after 137 years of teaching the world not to serve idols, not to sacrifice your children, Hashem says, take your son and bring him up as a korban on the mountain that I'll show you. And Avraham Avinu didn't blink an eyelid. He saddled his own donkey early in the morning. He traveled for 3 days till he got there. He built an altar and he was ready to sacrifice his son. Right? This is the level of trust that we're meant to have in Hashem, the Almighty. And we all have to work on this. And especially during these very special days, Aseret Mei Tshuva, it says, Dirshu Hashem, Kshematsu. Find Hashem when He's present. And He's present during these days. God is especially with us during these days. And during these days, we have to reach deep into ourselves to find the Bari Olam, to look around. Whoever opens their eyes will see Him. Whoever opens their heart, He will come in. And it's all about letting go. The more we let go, the more we pull back, the more Hashem will come in. Chazal teach us, as Gemara in Kedushin, if you walk around with a upright spine, showing that you are the center of the universe, then, right, you push away the Shekhinah. If you make a big deal about yourself, you push God away. If you pull back, Hashem pulls in. The degree to which you pull back is how much Hashem pulls in. The more you're able to pull back, the more Hashem pulls in. Moshe Rabbeinu said about himself, Nachnu ma. The Nefesh HaChaim points out, he couldn't even say the letter Aleph, because Moshe Rabbeinu felt he didn't exist vis-a-vis HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These are the levels that we must strive for. The more we strive for that, the more we'll be able to come to terms that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is infinitely merciful, yet He let October 7th happen. And the questions will become answers. We'll understand that all of these tribulations that Hashem is bringing to us, the Inquisition, the Holocaust, the Crusades, Chorban Bayis Rishon, Chorban Bayis Sheni, and what's going on now in Eretz Yisrael, and the many pogroms that have happened, Hashem is showing us. Hashem is leading us to complete the Emunah B'Tachon, to believe in Him in all situations. And the Jewish people, we stand strong. After 4,000 years of history, we're still going strong while all other nations have faltered. My friends, let's take an opportunity during these very special days of Aseret Mei Tshuva, Dirshu Hashem Kshematsu, to find Hashem in our hearts, and to express in our Emunah, to express in our tefillahs, especially for the hostages, especially for the residents of the North, especially for the soldiers, especially for the diligent Torah students who are learning Torah, which is protecting Israel, especially for all the soldiers who are giving up their lives to protect Israel. For all these people, the best thing we could do for them is to strengthen our Emunah, to strengthen our prayers, to turn to Hashem and realize He alone wields the power to end these tribulations. Hashem should help us to let go in the merit of these two young ladies who have sponsored this year and asked me the questions. I admit, I was not bothered enough by October 7th until these two ladies were in touch with me. Both of them, Rina Shalamis Basar Yocheved and Yehudis Ma'alia Basar Yocheved, these are two Nashim Sidkanios. They should find their Zivug Hagunim Bakarav. Amen. Kain Tiei Ratzon.